All right, well, I guess we'll get started. Welcome. Let me stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tiara Curry. I'm a senior scientist here at the Center for Biological Diversity in our Saving Life on Earth campaign. My pronouns are she, her, and I am joining this webinar tonight from Shawnee territory. Thank you for joining us for our speaker series webinars to learn more about the many ways we're working to end extinction. We have a special program tonight organized by our Population and Sustainability Program about women's empowerment and wildlife conservation. So first we'll have a conversation with our panelists, and then we'll open it up to your questions. Tomorrow we'll post a video of this webinar, and then we'll add closed captions and Spanish translations. So recent assessments by the International Union for Conservation of Nature show that elephants in Africa are even closer to extinction than previously thought. Savanna elephants have declined by more than 50% in 75 years, and forest elephants have declined by more than 80% in less than a century. They're both threatened by ivory poaching and habitat loss. I'm excited for you to meet our panelists tonight. One of them is she actually just lost power and is trying to get a generator. Oh, she's here. Sara's here. All right, so we have Larissa Sousa. She is the Associate Director for Gorongosa Park's Communications Department. We have Sara Inés Lara, who's joining us from Colombia, who just got her power back. Oh, we're so happy you made it. And we have Kelley Dennings from the Center's Population and Sustainability team. So I'm gonna hand it over to them to tell you a little bit about themselves.
Hello, everyone. As introduced, I'm Larissa Sousa. I am talking from the park, actually, from Gorongosa. So hello from Gorongosa. I am 30 years old. I have been working for the park for the past 5 years, specifically for girls' education and women empowerment. But I was trained as a business in business management. But I've been involved in education and activism and women empowerment for the past 9 to 10 years. And I'm very, very excited to be a part of this amazing project, which is Gorongosa project. And yeah, and I'm happy to be a part of the future, which is environment and science and research, and just in general to save Mother Earth. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sara, Lara. I'm very sorry about the background noise. We got the generator going and also the internet router working with the batteries. It's been a big challenge, but I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I am the founder of Women for Conservation and very proud to advocate for women in conservation, and very big fan of family planning, incorporating in every conservation process. Thank you.
All right, well, hello, it's great to be with you. I want to thank Tiara for bringing us all together for this discussion, and I'm really excited to be here with my fellow panelists that have these same overlapping interests as me, you know, reproductive rights, empowerment, and conservation. There's not a lot of us out there, but it's great to be with you. So my name's Kelley, and my pronouns are she and her. I've been with the center for about 2 years now. And most of my career was spent actually in waste and recycling. And about 5 years ago, I saw that that just wasn't cutting it. It was problematic alone. And so, you know, we needed to also be decreasing our production and consumption of stuff. So I started to look at a career change, and I became interested in working at this intersection of health and the environment. And so I went back to school for a master's in public health. And I had a real personal interest in family planning just based on my experience. And so I became a certified family planning counselor. And I couldn't be more proud and excited to be at the center working on these topics that always intersected in my mind. And I finally found a home where they seem to also connect for others within the center. So I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion. I was rewatching the movie, and once again, I was struck by all the wonderful empowerment stories that were throughout the documentary. And really the thinking that conservation must involve people too. I think that was, I pulled that directly from the movie. So anyway, I'm really excited, and I'm so glad to be here with everybody. We thought we'd start today's event with a little poll. So Griselda, I think she's gonna show us the poll right now. All right, so what's the first thing that comes to mind when we say women's empowerment? Would that be attain reproductive freedom? Is it access to education or staying in school? Is it occupying leadership positions? Or maybe it's financial self-sufficiency, equal pay for equal work, or living in a safe and healthy environment and community. So unfortunately, I forced you to pick one. And this is, again, what's the first thing that comes to mind? So we will give it another 10 seconds or so. Griselda, I'll take a cue from you when you think we should close the poll. And just a sneak peek, we're gonna have a second poll later, so we'll curious to see how things go. All right, and the results are pretty somewhat equal here. So I don't know if everybody else can see this, but 13% said attain reproductive freedom, 27% said access to education, 12% said occupying leadership positions. The top here is 32% with financial self-sufficiency, and then 16% living in a safe and healthy community. So thank you all for participating in that. Now I'm going to also ask for some help from Griselda. So for those of you that didn't get to watch the documentary or need just a little memory jog, we wanted to take a couple of minutes to show the trailer before we start our panel discussion. So over to you, Griselda, to play the trailer.
Para que o Parque Nacional da Gorongosa e qualquer uma outra área de conservação, principalmente em África, sobreviva, é necessário que tenhamos uma nova visão. Desde o início, percebemos que ele só poderia ser bem-sucedido se incluísse as pessoas que moram perto do parque. Em Moçambique, a pobreza tem sempre a cara de uma mulher. É por isso que o nosso foco está nelas. Quando isso acontecer, as comunidades como um todo serão beneficiadas. As mulheres precisam de ser empoderadas, autônomas. Mas tudo começa com a educação. É importante não desistir, continuar. Temos que lembrar que é importante estudar. Temos esperança e acreditamos que educando as raparigas transformará as nossas comunidades e elevará a todos, mulheres e homens.
Aquela aí?
Tudo está interligado. Coexistência é uma palavra bonita. É simples de dizer, mas não é simples de criar, não é simples de fazer.
That was so, I love this documentary. It was so like moving and inspiring, and I learned so much. So Let's start the discussion with Larissa. You're there right now. It's the middle of the night. Thank you for joining us in the middle of the night. Let's just tell us more about the park and about your work there.
Yeah, it's as Dominique was saying in the film, it's trying to put everything together, and it's about coexistence, which is a very beautiful word, and but something very difficult to do, and that's what we're trying to do. So our main goal is to strengthen the biodiversity. So joining the fauna and the flora, as well as with the people who live around the park. And this was mainly inspired by Nelson Mandela's point of view, which says that parks and reserves have to cater for the needs of the people who live around these places. And it's by doing this human development that we are realizing how important it is to make sure that everything else works, that the wildlife is thriving, that the people that live around the park are thriving, that we will ensure that this coexistence actually happens. So the park is a very integrated project where we have 6 big departments that are working together to make sure that all the areas are tackled, and that makes sure that we are doing conservation in general. And so the main departments that I was talking about is first and foremost conservation, which we have the rangers, so the people who are also highlighted very well in the film. And we are very proud to have women rangers, because this way we are also showing the community that women can do anything, and they are able to do anything in such a male dominated area. And then we have the science department, which is focused on research, which is focused on biodiversity. And then we have the human development and the sustainable development department, which are focused directly on the people. So we are making sure that these people are catered for, that their basic needs are catered for, because we are in a very, very rural area. And most of these places are living under the poverty line. So all we're doing is we're working together with all the services and the ministries of the government of Mozambique to ensure that these needs are catered for, and that they are not doing illegal activities in the park because they don't have alternatives. So we're working to make sure that we are empowering specifically, or especially women, to make sure that these things are moving forward. And then we have the operations and communications department, which are the support for all of these other departments. And we're very proud of our media and communications department, which are able to make films and documentaries like this to show the world what a great example it is, and how other places can also do something similar, and to make sure that we are doing conservation and creating space for future generations, where we have the people living around these conservation areas, which will become the stewardess, which will become the activists, and making sure that there is sustainability in all our activities.
I love it. And I love that you could join us, and I love what you're doing. I could just listen to you talk for a really long time.
Thank you.
I'm gonna circle back to you, but first I'm gonna go over to Kelley. Tell us about your work as a population and sustainability campaigner.
Sure. So our work at the center is grounded in the belief that every person should have the right to choose if and when they want to have children, and how many, and to do so in a safe and healthy environment. So we work to ensure that every individual has the resources, access to contraception, and education to plan their reproductive futures. So my role at the center, I almost feel like we should give it back to Sara in case we lose her. I'll finish up, or Tiara, do we want to ask Sara to.
Sure, we can circle back to you.
I'm just so nervous we'll lose her again.
I know.
I am so sorry.
Real quick, tell us about, no, you don't have to be quick. I hope you don't lose your connection again though, but just tell us about yourself and your work and Women for Conservation. How did it get started?
Well, I'm here in Colombia, in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, in the heart of this amazing mountain range, and the logistic has been really, really difficult. So I'm sorry again about that. It's very similar, like Larissa was saying. The inspiration came about 15 years ago when working conservation, I saw the need to involve women in conservation projects. And this was, I think it was overseen as its other examples. And I really was inspired by amazing people around the world who have been empowering women. And I took the initiative to start creating opportunities for women to be involved in conservation. And also, I very quickly was aware that family planning was then incorporated. So we started to design workshops and bring doctors for health clinics. And it was such a wonderful experience to see that the women were craving for that. And it was very welcome. Back when we started was challenging, and now has changed completely, which is more open, and women are, I would say, more relaxed about talking about these issues and helping. We have been helping with their empowerment. So it's a wonderful experience, and all the work that we're doing in Colombia is a country with high biodiversity. It has the #1 species of birds in the world. And at the same time, there is a lot of work to be done. And by incorporating women in many of the projects, it's been a very rewarding experience as a woman and seeking for opportunities. So this is the work that we've been doing. It started in 3 locations and now is in several areas, conservation areas, who are
Sara is frozen. Sorry about all the tech issues we're having. It's amazing that she was able to pull it off to join us. So I guess we'll go back to her when she unfreezes. Meanwhile, we'll kick it back over to Kelley. Kelley, did you want to say anything more about your work?
Yeah, just consider me the intermission between Sara's internet connectivity. So my role at the center is to develop and execute projects focused on rights-based solutions, from voluntary family planning to the solidarity economy, to address how the effects of population pressure and inequitable consumption impact our environment. You know, we understand that every child born in the United States has an outsized impact on the planet, and we work to address both topics through gender empowerment, along with individual consumer choices and stopping systemic resource extraction and production. We know that many environmental groups do not discuss population for a variety of reasons, one of which is immigration. However, the center believes since population, consumption, and resource extraction are global issues, they transcend national borders. And US immigration policies should recognize that immigration is a human right and should be rooted in human dignity. And then just to close here, you know, we really understand it is a complex topic that shouldn't be simplified, because communities have been and are being violated through reproductive oppression. So we want to support reproductive rights and justice allies for long-term holistic solutions that incorporate access to education, healthcare, voluntary family planning, health and safety, safe and healthy environments, and gender equality for everyone. So thank you. Good to have you back, Sara.
Thanks, Kelley. So Larissa, I was just so inspired by all of the amazing women in the documentary, from Antonia, who the ranger, to Julia and Gloria that coordinate the Girls Club, Can you just tell us more about your work keeping girls in school and decreasing child marriages?
Sure. So the idea of actually doing the girls clubs was basically because of early marriages that has been happening, I think, across Africa, specifically in rural areas, and Gorongosa is no different from that. And because we want to stop the cycle from happening, and the best ways of doing this and women empowerment is through training and education. And so we decided to have the girls clubs. And I was very lucky to be invited to be one of the first girls clubs program manager. And so I saw the start from the beginning, and it's very inspiring and nice for me to see all these girls now grown up and continue with education. So what we've been doing is to make sure that these girls, which have started, have become role models, so that we can now go back into the communities and say that we have real life examples. Because one of the most difficult things to do is to raise awareness and go to the communities and tell the parents that early marriages is a bad practice, it's illegal, and it's really bad for the girls, and it cuts all of their future opportunities, and it just creates this poverty cycle. And so now we are very happy to be able to have women like Antonia, which is the fiscal in the documentary, and to show the community that it's possible. And because it's a long-term process, education, we are so happy to see girls like Isabel, who is today in grade 9, and she's continuing with her education. She's doing her high school, and she's thriving. All of these girls in the beginning, they were so shy, they wouldn't talk. And one of the criteria for the girls to be part of the girls clubs is that they are registered in an official school, of course, because the girls clubs is an extracurriculum activity, and that they are active, that they are not shy, because these are the most vulnerable of these communities. So they are normally the ones that are at the back of the class, that the teacher's not paying attention to them. And one of the things that happens here is we have very big classes where you have one teacher who's teaching a class of 50, of 60 kids. So you obviously have these girls who are not being paid attention to. So in the girls clubs, the idea is to create a safe space where the girls can talk about anything and everything, that they can share experiences, they can stop being shy, that they are helped by the promoters to do homework, that they are getting the attention that they were supposed to get in school, and that they can also participate actively in their classes. So it's just uplifting them and making sure that they have the same opportunity as the boys in terms of education. And we are very proud to have this integrated program, as I explained, because we have the health sector, which we have women who are talking about the sexual reproductive health. We have people from conservation who are coming and telling them what they should do, how they can do waste management, what they should do to recycle. So it's just different activities that they are able to get within this group. And the idea is not to segregate or push away the boys, but it's just to try and uplift the girls to be somehow at the same level with the boys. And we do have other clubs, other extracurriculum activities where the boys are involved. Because at the end of the day, it's no good for us to just be focusing on girls and empowering girls, and we're not talking about the same things within a safe circle with the boys. And so the girls club is just to have this somehow balance within the community. And we also work with the older women by empowering them, making sure that they have different livelihood, that they have skills. We train them, we talk to them, at the end of the day, it's a matter of giving a voice to these women who haven't had a voice for such a long time. So it's just a really good space, and making sure that women are somehow in the same space with men, and that we are making sure that they know that they can do anything that they want to do.
I love it. You're doing such amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sara, I can't tell. Your video isn't working. Is your audio working? There she is. Sara,
Yes,
can you tell us more about your work empowering women in Colombia?
Well, it's so wonderful to hear from Larissa, and obviously is an inspiration to us. We very much replicating from another continent what they are doing. Here in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in El Dorado Nature Reserve, we are working with 3 different groups from 3 different areas in the reserve. These communities are depending on their small farmers, and now ecotourism has become a major player in the area. So with the women, what are we doing in terms of providing training for sustainable livelihoods is providing training on nature, bird watching, ecology, to explore that as a career opportunity. They have been very interested. Many of them are converting their houses or small farms into small lodges. Also, we are training them to do cooking, to prepare the food for the visitors, customer service, so they can provide the whole service to them. Also, we are helping with English classes to the ladies, but also the whole family is welcome to attend. What we've been seeing is the whole family is keen to obtain this knowledge. For us, that is a big plus, because at the end of the day, what we are seeking is that the nature reserve is expanding, and that we are forming corridors with the locals. So it fortifies and strengthens the protected area. Also, because we are every month, more or less every month now, we are helping with the partner in Colombia who specialize in family planning, which is called Pro Familia. They are the experts in the subject, and we have an amazing partnership with them, and they provide all the medical service, the psychologist, the health specialist. So with the women, and they are leading the initiative, which is wonderful, because they had embraced it so deeply that they're running with it. Every month we have about 20 to 25 ladies who want to have access to family planning, and they are driven by it. And now what is happening is more communities are hearing about the success and how wonderful it is for the ladies to be involved in this program. They are requesting to expand into a bigger area. And this is a very successful story, combining nature, ecotourism, sustainable livelihoods, and getting the ladies involved is providing a complete change in the dynamics in this area. That is super important for conservation. It's a key biodiversity area and a hot spot for many species. Thank you.
Thank you. That is wonderful to learn more about. So I'm going to kick it over to Kelley. We always want to include information on how our members can help. So how can our members help advocate for women's empowerment here in the US and globally?
Yeah, so I just want to start by kind of giving a few statistics about women's empowerment here in the United States. Well, we are, maybe further along than others on the call. We still have room to grow towards gender equality, and inequality continues to persist in politics, education, jobs, and household labor. So in 2020, the World Economic Forum ranked the United States 53rd in terms of gender equality out of 153 countries. And COVID exposed this disparity in the workplace and with caregiving, right? So 60% of jobs eliminated in the first wave of layoffs were held by women. You know, female workforce participation is now at the lowest since 1986, and women are losing more pay and career development opportunities due to balancing childcare. So these inequalities make it harder for women to get employer-provided health care or afford coverage under the Affordable Care Act here in the United States. I did want to touch on child marriage just a little bit. So this was a new group I came to know last year and was pretty stunned by this statistic, but Unchained at Last is a group that tracks child marriage in the United States, and nearly 300,000 children wed in the United States from 2000 to 2018. And 60,000 of those marriages occurred at an age or spousal age difference that it could have been considered a sex crime. So I think we'll maybe throw a link here in the chat where you could get some more information. But you know, alarming statistics that will also get you fired up are from the US Bureau of Justice. So they show that 32,000 pregnancies result from rape each year. And the Black Women's Blueprint found that close to 70% of Black girls surveyed experienced sexual violence before their 18th birthday. 70% of Black girls experience sexual violence before their 18th birthday in the United States. So, you know, empowerment for women cannot be achieved without access to comprehensive reproductive health care. In relationship to domestic family planning policies that support empowerment, there's a lot going on right now. So I'll share a few pieces of policy for folks to look at more in depth, and I can see Griselda's putting them in the chat for you. So first is the Title X Family Planning Program. This was created to bridge the gap in care by providing funding for reproductive health services for low-income people. The Biden administration is looking to repair what was done by the Trump administration. There's the Equal Access to Abortion coverage in the Health Insurance Women's Act. This will permanently repeal the Hyde Amendment, which is banning federal funds for abortion care. And then the other one is on the international front, you know, because we do have our international partners here on the call with us. But one of Biden's first actions in office was to rescind the global gag rule through executive order, when in effect, this policy cuts off funding to those international NGOs that provide abortion counseling or referrals. And this bipartisan, bicameral reintroduction of the Global Health Empowerment and Rights Act will permanently repeal the global gag rule. So we hope that you'll lend your support for this legislation by completing our action alert that I believe we shared in the chat, and we'll share in follow-up emails.
Thanks, Kelley. There's no shortage of actions that need to be taken. Larissa, can you tell us more about what reproductive health care and contraceptive access is like in Mozambique? We saw a little bit in the movie, but can you tell us more?
Sure. In Mozambique, I think family planning has been something that has been active for quite a long time now. We have a lot of NGOs focusing on that. We have a population of about 38 million at the moment. And there is a lot of awareness raising. However, we have a lot of cultural barriers, which say that women have to have as many kids as they can. And yeah, especially in rural areas, women are normally not using family planning, even though there is a lot of access. We as Gorongosa National Park, under the health sector, are providing a lot of contraceptive in terms of awareness raising, as well as actually the different methods And in Mozambique, we have the main contraceptive types that are normally condoms for both male and female, which are given for free. And you can get anywhere, institutions and hospitals for free, which is very good. However, the female condom is not used almost by no one, but it's there. The pills, the daily oral pills, they're also given for free. You just have to be registered in a hospital. There's a depot, which is the trimestral injections. We have the implants, which are normally for 3 to 5 years. And then we have the IUD. These are the most famous contraceptive methods that we have here, and they're all for free. You can get them in any hospital or even through our mobile brigades, which are provided by the Ministry of Health. But as I said, we have a lot of cultural barriers that people still don't use it and want to have as many kids as possible. And this comes from way back, where it was good to have many kids because all you needed was to have them and they would go and help in the fields. However, now you need to cater for them, make sure that they go to school and that they have clothes and all of these things. But it's change, and change takes time. But what is really good is that it's there, it's available, and people know about it. So we are working towards that, and there's been a big change in generations before that. Families used to be as big as 10, 20 even, but now we can see a change that number is now half, which is families of 5, families of 7 kids per family. And we are hoping that the next generation that is coming will be even less. So we are happy that this change is happening gradually.
Thanks, Larissa. Sara, can I ask you the same question? Can you tell us what it's like in Colombia in terms of reproductive health care and contraceptive access?
Thank you. Well, in Colombia, the population in Colombia is over 50 million people, 50 million, 0.3 estimated. And my opinion on this topic is there is limited access to family planning. What I would say is in the rural areas is very limited. The lack of education about this subject is one of the biggest challenges. So in what our opinion is, if we keep talking about it, bring it to the table, especially when we're talking about conservation, the women are getting more receptive. They're very enthusiastic about the fact that they can have access to these methods. And it's a transformation that is happening very quickly compared to some years ago, where it was more taboo. The culture was a little bit more macho orientated, but this is changing very, very quickly. And most of the ladies who are involved in the group now, what is happening is the husband or their partners, they are happy that they are involved in this initiative and they're actually supporting them. When you compare this with not long ago, it was a different scenario. And when we were talking about family planning, was adding maybe a little bit of violence against women for even considering to be doing family planning. So in Colombia, the health system it covers across Colombia is a really, really good system. It supports the people and the rural and in the city, and they also provide family planning access. But in the rural areas, it makes really difficult for them to have access because logistics, transportation is expensive for them to go to the doctors and request the medications and get involved in the family planning. So the more that we help them to have access with transportation, or sometimes with the cost, if it's not covered by the insurance, which is very rare, but that can happen, we are helping them tremendously to move towards that. Colombia, I think, is in a very good position and a strong position in the healthcare. And if we connect the dots and provide these opportunities for organizations, like I mentioned, Pro Familia, to come to rural areas with a team of doctors who are psychologists that specialize in the matter, and we are just the facilitators of this process. So we are making a really, really good connections and long-lasting impact, and a positive impact that is immediately reflecting in the how many kids the women decide to have. Some of them already 3 kids and or more, and they are already involved in the family planning, and they made the decision that they don't want to have more children, but they have that option. In the case of young women, we have seen that they really, now that they have the access to the family planning, they are pursuing their education rather than become a mother at a very, very young age, when they know that they don't have the resources and maybe the possibilities. We're talking about specifically about the rural areas, because the city is a very different scenario. So for us to be able to be in this position is extremely privileged, and we learn every day. We constantly doing more workshops, incorporating more suggestions from the ladies who are in the group, and how we interact with them is in a very personal relationship. We spend time getting to know them and the families. So we create confidence and relationships where we allow not only family planning, but other issues that involve women to be taught and shared in a very space environment. Thank you.
The work you're doing is amazing. I love hearing about all the awesome projects you both have. Larissa, I wondered, are you working with other parks to replicate the model of linking women's empowerment with conservation?
Yes, we actually have what is called an administration of conservation areas in Mozambique, which is ANAC. And we have 25%, if I'm not mistaken, of the whole country of Mozambique, which is conservation areas. And so we are working with all the other parks and reserves to make sure that they have access to the information of how we are working in Gorongosa National Park. And we have shared with about three or four other reserves in Mozambique to replicate, and they are actually replicating some of our initiatives, especially under human development, because this is something new for Africa in general, to be doing conservation alongside human development. And yeah, we're very happy to be able to coordinate with all these other parks and reserves, and to make sure that they are as well working with the communities that live around these areas.
That ties directly into a question. I want to take some questions people are typing in. So someone asked if you have plans to set up microlending or business finance training for women in the communities around the park.
Yes, I spoke about one of the departments, which is called Sustainable Development. And we actually started this year doing financial literacy with the women which we are working with up in the mountain. And I sent the link for our Gorongosa, which is the profit side, the pro-profit side that we are doing, where we're working with farmers up in the mountain to make coffee and other cultures that they can sell to the park, where we then process and sell coffee, honey, and cashew. So within this whole cycle, we are working with women and men farmers to do financial literacy and other training that will ensure that they have a whole value chain. Yes.
Thank you. Sara, I've got a question for you about COVID, and has the pandemic impacted your work in Colombia?
COVID has been a very big challenge. The impact is, as you know, and everywhere in the world is been devastating. At the same time has been an opportunity for us to realize how important it is to have these relationships in the community and support each other. Women for Conservation was able to raise funds to support families around the El Dorado Nature Reserve, but also in 8 other nature reserves in Colombia. We were there together, and because we formed this bond, allow us to come to their homes and look for other ways that we could overcome this situation. It was incredible to see that women were disappointed that perhaps they were some women were considering to do family planning, and there was a little bit perhaps of procrastinating or not seeking or taking that opportunity just before the COVID started, and some of them were a little bit upset with themselves, thinking that having with COVID was going to be a big chance of getting pregnant and regretting not doing it sooner. But we continued to work. We had the partners on the ground with Fundación Proaves and their staff, so we were able to reach out to the very, very remote places, bring food supplies to them. We also invested in providing chickens or for them to grow their own vegetables, small vegetable patches. So we deliver seeds, materials to the women. So during COVID, they were all busy looking at how they could be more self-sufficient and improve what they already have in the rural areas. So it was a difficult experience, but at the same time, we understand that we need nature. Everyone understood how important nature is and how valuable it is to have relationships, and that where we can trust each other and help each other, especially as women. And obviously we had the support of many, many wonderful men who are huge advocates for women empowerment. So we both, and with their help, we managed to get better. And COVID, I'm thinking that this year is also is going to take time, but hopefully next year it will get better with the vaccine and with making it more accessible. Unfortunately, here in Colombia, the vaccine will take longer, and it's going to be a tough year, but hopefully next year will be better. Meanwhile, we will continue to support them. Internet and WhatsApp or another mechanisms have been making a great impact in these families, because it is accessible now, so we are able to communicate with them and make sure that the network of women continue to grow. So thank you.
Thank you. Larissa, there's another question for you. Have you seen husbands object to the use of the many forms of family planning, and how does your organization work to overcome that?
Yes, that's normally the case, that the women do want to use family planning, and they are now more willing to say that no, instead of having 5 kids, we can have 3 and cater and take care of these kids the best way we can. But the men are the ones who are normally refusing to use any form of family planning. Family planning is optional. We cannot force people to do it. And what we try to do is to involve the couple or the make sure that they are together when we do the awareness raising, when we go and talk about all of these things. Normally what happens is if the wife refuses to have more kids, for example, starts using behind the husband's back, he goes and finds another wife and he starts having more kids. So that's not a solution. So what we do is try to make sure that we involve more men, and we have actually just started a program, an initiative, which is called Men for Equality, which these things are put on the table and discussed. And it's men talking about things like family planning and how they are seen in society, and how male and female roles can be changed, and how everyone is made in the same way. We, at the end of the day, we're all humankind, and that we need to start switching sides and making sure that the men are now are the ones who are being pro women, and the ones that are encouraging and valuing women's education and empowerment. And so I think that's how we are trying to overcome, by creating programs such as this one, where the men have a safe space, because normally they want to just be the macho and being the decision makers, the sole decision makers. And so the idea is to make sure that these men are being informed first and foremost, and that they are able to understand and start reasoning things, because this is something that have come from long time ago, and it's culture. And so they need to be able to now sit, reflect, understand, and reason things. So we are hoping that this will help, and that they will, as a family, as a couple, would decide to use contraceptive and family planning.
Thank you. Let's do the second poll that Kelley mentioned earlier. Griselda, could you put up the poll for us? It kind of reflects back to the first one. So what do you think is the most important factor to improve women's empowerment globally? And all of the above, unfortunately, isn't an option. Kelley's making us choose the most important factor. So attain reproductive freedom, access to education and staying in school, occupying leadership positions, financial self-sufficiency, achieve equal pay for equal work, or living in a safe and healthy community. So we'll give you a minute to do the poll, and then Griselda will put the results up for us. We don't get to vote. The most important factor to improve women's empowerment globally. All of these things are obviously really important, and we've learned tonight how our awesome panelists are working on all of these things. Griselda, you can close it out and put up the results whenever you're ready. All right. Oh, wow. This one has way more decisive than the first one. So coming in by a landslide at 61% is access to education and staying in school is the most important factor to improve women's empowerment globally. All of those are good. So we have 5 minutes left. Kelley, do you want to just talk about the situation in the United States in terms of access to healthcare and the intersection of like population and the climate crisis and all of the things that you wanted to talk about that
There's no way I can do that.
No.
Let me just say that in relationship to access to family planning in the United States, there are still plenty of folks that need access here. And what was clicking for me was everyone was saying the rural communities. And the same is true in the United States. You know, we need to get, what do they call it? The last mile, you know, like we need to really try to get to these communities that have less access, and they're generally in rural areas. There is a lot of work being done. I was surprised to hear Larissa say family planning is free there. We're not there yet. So we have plenty of opportunity to continue to improve here in the United States. So I'll stop there, but I was taking notes when Larissa was speaking, and I was like, what? We need to learn from them. I'll just mention about how it relates to climate change, Tiara, because I know you asked me about that one too. But it's like coming at it from all different directions for climate change. I think, you know, women and gender empowerment is part of the discussion today, and women are disproportionately impacted when it comes to climate change. There's so much data that shows that. So that would be first and foremost. The second one is there's a great group, Project Drawdown, that shows actually education of women and girls and access to family planning are 2 of the top 10 climate change solutions. So while we're disproportionately impacted, we are also hold some of the power to solving climate change. And so I was really excited to see in that poll that education came to the top, you know, because it really is, it is this universal thing that we can do that that improves all things. It's one of those that floats all boats, you know. I'll stop there.
It's the base. I was also very, very happy to see that. It's the base that we all need to go up.
Sara, real quick, someone has a specific question for you, and if you guys are working on finding, I shouldn't have said you guys, I apologize for that. If you all are working on setting up financial literacy or business training, they mentioned an organization called Pro Mujer.
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry about that. Someone asked if as part of your programs, you're working to set up financial literacy or business training for women.
Yes, we are. It definitely is one of the things that we are focusing on. The micro loans and also financial literacy is been one of the things that the women really need, and they're very happy to do as a core component of all the training that we are giving in different aspects. So we are doing it small. We're starting small. We have, but we are doing it. And what we are seeking is to partner with organizations who specialize in that issue, to advise us and to coach us in what will be the best model to utilize, since we want to be the most efficient and effective as possible. So for us, creating key partnerships with these type of organizations are crucial.
Thanks, Sara. And we have less than a minute left, so I just want to thank Larissa and Sara and Kelley for being with us today, and Sara and Griselda behind the scenes. And thank you to you at home for joining us. If you haven't seen the film yet, we're going to add a link to the chat. You can still watch it. It's amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, do watch it. Let's see. Check your email later this summer. We're going to have another film screening called 8 Billion Angels, and then we'll do a webinar about that. And when we close the webinar, a survey is going to pop up on your screen. So please take a minute to complete it, because we want to hear your thoughts. And as an incentive, we have a coffee table book that we're going to give to the winners called Overdevelopment, Overpopulation, Overshoot. So do the survey when it pops up. And as always, we're so grateful for your support in helping us end extinction and save life on Earth. We couldn't do it without you, and we appreciate your time this evening. So thank you, and thank you all so much.